It all kicks off on a chill night right outside a sushi joint. Our MC politely waves goodbye to some customers heading out. He quickly heads back inside and starts wiping down tables with a spray bottle. This kid is Yu Jun, who's turning 18 today, and is finally old enough to take on the beginner dungeon. Right then, the guy hears someone calling him and turns around. The boss mentions it's a slow night, and lets the kid clock out early to pick up his little sister. Yu Jun says thanks for the paycheck and the early out. With that, he leaves the spot and takes a chill walk down the dark street. The dude spots something huge and mysterious up in the night sky. A massive magical structure is just floating in the clouds, glowing in the moonlight. Taking in the city skyline mixed with straight-up fantasy, he remembers it's been 10 years already. Exactly 1 decade since the mysterious Divine Revelation game dropped on Earth like a massive patch update. Basically, anyone who clears the tutorial dungeon gets some wild skills and becomes a certified pro. Except all that overpowered energy ended up causing an absolute chaos worldwide and sent a whole lot of people to an early game over. At least until the 8 sovereigns set up the Divine Revelation Hall to fix the server and bring some order to the mess. But the pros who caused all that wreckage ended up becoming society's top 1%. Moving straight into the most expensive, boogie neighborhoods in the city, and walking around getting hyped up and respected by regular folks on the street. Meanwhile, Yu Jun's parents ended up getting taken out during all that chaos, logging off for good. With 0 other options, he hops on his bike and starts pedaling through the night, completely sure that there's only one single path to actually hitting the jackpot of happiness. Pulling up to a convenience store, he gets his sister's attention inside. The girl immediately answers back and sprints down the aisle. She comes running up all hyped, calling out for her big bro. They give each other a massive hug, while he tells her he's here to take her home. An older lady walks over, joking that their sibling bond is pure goals and making everyone else jealous. Right then the girl, Yu, says she's gonna change out of her uniform and bolts off super excited. The store manager steps up, double-checking that today is actually his 18th birthday. Then she hands him a super fancy gift box that he totally tries to turn down. Yu Jun gets all awkward and tries to explain he can't take it, since he's already super grateful they gave his sister a job. Already back in her school gear, the kid tells her bro to ask the boss about their recent sales spike. The manager backs up the story and insists he take the cake as a thank you for boosting their profits by 30%. The two pedal off, yelling their thanks for the gift while the boss tells them to stay safe in the dark. Showing absolute locked in focus, the MC mentally notes his biggest obligation, which is becoming a pro by any means necessary to totally flip their family's script. The siblings drag the bike up a flight of stairs until they hit a way more rundown part of town, walking into a cramped, dark apartment that pretty much screams that they are totally broke. Settling in around this tiny wooden table, they plop the box right in the middle. A solid moment of silence takes over the room as they just stare at the package. Trying to break the awkward vibe, the guy opens it up, curious to see what flavor they got. He grabs a knife and slices out a massive piece of strawberry cake. He slides the first slice onto his sister's plate, but she's still giving him the silent treatment. Yu Jun nudges his little sis to go ahead and eat, but she grabs his sleeve, hesitating before dropping a really heavy request. Getting all emotional, she begs him to drop the idea of running that sketchy dungeon. Trying to keep it light, he asks if she really wants to be stuck in this tiny shoebox forever. Changing the subject, he asks what surprise she whipped up for her big bro. The girl wipes her face and starts digging through her backpack. She hands over a full-blown survival guide for the tutorial dungeon that she put together just by eavesdropping on customers at work. She makes him promise that he'll make it out of this trial in one piece. A little while later, the empty plate is just chilling alone on the table, while the kid is already knocked out cold, mumbling in low-key roasting her stubborn brother in her sleep. Sneaking out of the room, he watches her sleep and cracks a smile at how much she worries. Back outside, our MC walks off totally locked in, ready to come back and secure that premium lifestyle for his little sis. The main lobby of the dungeon center is absolutely massive, flexing these epic, towering portals. One of the staff members points out the official drop in zone for newbies. The lady drops a final warning, casually mentioning that the game over rate for this challenge is sitting at a spicy 70%. He hears the red flag, gripping the notebook his sister gifted him super tight. An unbreakable try-hard energy takes over the kid right in front of the challenge. Without a second thought, he pushes forward and steps right through the magic glowing barrier. The scenery flips to this heavenly dimension where the system hits him with the classic class selection screen. Looking at the floating interface options, he taps the panel and locks in the assassin rote. Instantly, his body gets flooded with energy, soaking up that magical buff. Some edgy shadow armor starts materializing over his clothes, covering pretty much everything. Decked out in his new gear with daggers in hand, he totally looks the part of a true shadow hunter, An NPC voice tells him he needs to survive the next trial as long as possible to figure out his talent tier. Yu-jun braces for the worst, remembering his sister's notes, hype this part of the test up big time. Suddenly, this agonizing pain hits him as phantom swords literally clip right through his character model. Taking heavy hits, he notices a glitch in the matrix. His health points haven't even dropped a single point. The MC quickly figures out this whole challenge is just a massive vibe check for his willpower. But an endless rain of blades keeps dropping, shredding his avatar without a single break. Paying closer attention to the attack patterns, he realizes he can actually dodge some of the spam if he's fast enough. He rips one of the blades out of his arm, calculating that tanking the pain drains his mental stamina, while dodging burns his physical stamina. A literal storm of swords fills the entire map, proving that extreme fatigue is going to force anyone to log out eventually. Or a total mental crash will force an unavoidable blackout sooner or later. Seeing right through the trap, the MC realizes that surviving as long as possible just means trying not to pass out. Swinging his weapon, he actually parries one of the magic projectiles flying at his face. Even though he's totally gassed, the kid roasts the trial in trash, talks the game's system. Getting a running start, he jumps, claiming that this time the challenge just hit a solid brick wall. The kid grabs the hilt of a dropped sword with a death grip. Adjusting his stance, our hero gets ready to pull an epic counterattack. Launching into the air, the assassin sends it right into the middle of the blade storm. Letting out all his stored up hype, he drops a massive battle cry. He unleashes a crazy combo, mercilessly wrecking the illusions crossing his path. Landing on the ground totally winded, he reflects that his grind set to get stronger is literally unbreakable. Mocking the trial, the kid guarantees he won't get nerfed by some weak drizzle and tells the game to bring it on. Right on cue, a massive swarm spawns in the sky, threatening to flatten the player, who's just standing there welcoming the smoke. The insane impact triggers a ridiculous explosion, sending shrapnel flying across the entire server dimension. For a split second, the newbie focuses his eyes, realizing the trial finally hit its limit. Bathed in some holy light, Yu-jun is still standing there without a scratch after completely breaking the impossible endurance test. Flashing a cocky smile, the kid celebrates totally outplaying the system. Standing in the middle of the arena, he screams at the top of his lungs that the win is his. The AI immediately congratulates him on a flawless clear and hands over a max ranked talent, leaving the kid floored on the ground. Pumping his fist over this insane loot drop, he promises to give his sister that premium VIP life. A magic circle pops up on the floor, wrapping the kid up for fast travel. The notification dings, letting him know the main gates to the tutorial dungeon are finally unlocked. Sitting on the steps, the recruit takes in the epic entrance of his first real challenge. Not wasting a single second, the kid stands up, brushes the dirt off his fit, and gets totally in the zone. Walking with serious confidence, he steps through the giant golden door into the unknown. Stepping across floating platforms, the MC checks out the 5 playable classes and their stat or party requirements. Since assassins don't get massive early game buffs, he accepts that he's destined to be a lone wolf in the shadows. Knowing this was the reality for a while, the guy stays chill and trusts the process. Checking his account's stat sheet, he hypes up his choice as the most broken path for the early grind. Reading the description for level 1 stealth, the interface explains that his damage scales the longer he stays invisible. Popping his shadow aura, the kid figures that this buff alone guarantees survival and some crazy burst damage. Stepping out of the portal, he flexes that nobody can straight up fight an assassin head on in this starter zone. The map loads in, revealing the main plaza of Ash City, which is flagged as a safe zone. Taking a chill walk through the hub, his game plan is to go mob hunting, level up, and test out his shiny new talent. Out of nowhere, some toxic dude yelling at someone to get lost totally grabs his attention. Checking out the drama up close, the recruit sees a squad of bullies cornering 2 players, telling them to leave the girl behind. The leader of this trash mob starts creeping on the girl, tossing out some gross comments about having a good time. Trying to protect his sister, a guy in blue armor yells at the coward to get his filthy hands off her. Watching from the sidelines, Yu-jun realizes this duo just pulled aggro from a really bad crowd. Analyzing the whole mess, the MC figures these big dudes are just cowards terrified of losing their accounts, so they just grief low-level players. Looking at the scene with absolute disgust, the kid compares the squad to literal tapeworms. Showing zero chill, the bully straight up punches the guy and threatens to send him back to the lobby right then and there for being loud. Popping his magic stealth, our hero decides to step in, save the newbies, and use this as a live test for his skill. Phasing right through the middle of the entire gang totally invisible, he celebrates pulling off the sneak approach without drawing suspicion. His main strategy is to hit them with a quick jab and run away, pulling the trash mob's attention off the siblings. Charging up his dagger, the kid plans to create the perfect window for the duo to make a run for it. He goes for a clean neck strike, but the system straight up blocks the damage, flashing a warning that fighting is disabled in the safe zone. Feeling the hit but taking 0 damage, the leader whips his head around, absolutely raging, and looking for whoever tried to jump him. Completely mind blown that his big brain play failed, the assassin learns about safe zone mechanics the hard way. Getting instantly exposed in the middle of the circle, the kid is now the prime target for a gang thirsty for an easy win. Sprinting through the narrow alleys, he tries to play it cool, brushing off the whole thing as a minor inconvenience. Jumping over the rooftops like a pro, the rookie calculates he only needs to break their line of sight for 5 seconds. With a whole squad of tryhards breathing down his neck, the idea is to pop stealth the second he rounds the corner. Saved by the lucky distraction, the guy in blue tells the girl they really need to read the survival guide more carefully before making a move. Raging hard and checking every corner, the bandits curse the kid out for pulling a disappearing act so fast. Hiding behind a thick wooden pillar, our hero lets out a massive sigh of relief, hyping up his class's tactical superiority. Pulling up his virtual interface, he opens his inventory and praises how incredibly clutch the game's item storage is. Pulling out the notebook his little sis gifted him, the kid realizes he desperately needs to study the notes right now. Speed reading through the detailed pages, he finally gets the pacifist rules of the city and starts routing his leveling path. Checking the map for level 5 to 10 monsters, the guy gives mad props to his sister for her flawless research. With a totally smug smirk, the shadow hunter locks in his next target and stashes the book. Leaving the idiots tearing up the city behind, the MC heads east to officially start his hunt. Arriving at a super peaceful green field, he spots some level 1 demonic sheep just grazing around. Creeping behind a rock, the kid remembers the guide mentioning these creatures are passive, but still need to be taken seriously. Advancing with a glowing weapon, the hunter does the math. The target has 150 health points, while his own attack power sits at 120. Prepping his ultimate pounce, he realizes he needs to camp in stealth for 2 whole minutes to guarantee a one-shot clear. Almost reaching the beast's back, the assassin is hyper, focused on the 5 experience points he needs to hit level 2 as soon as possible. The precision strike absolutely shreds the monster for an instant elimination, but the guy groans about how incredibly slow and boring this camping strategy is. Instead of waiting for that long again, his new Galaxy brain play is to cut the cooldown by rushing the next target immediately. Going for the backstab right after going invisible, the blade connects but deals way less damage this time. Tanking the scuffed sneak attack because it lacked charge, the animal spins around, glaring at the attacker with pure rage. The brutal tackle hits the kid right in the chest, proving that botching the first hit means eating a nasty counter attack that chunks off 40 health points. Stressed from the surprise pain, he finishes off the beast to end the fight. Staring at the potion that dropped, the panting kid realizes that with his measly 200 base health points, relying on heals is going to ruin his leveling speed. To speed things up, the hero tries to figure out how to trigger his ultimate skill's instant elimination, which apparently requires a fair and clean execution. Evaluating the combat, Yu Jun deduces that using invisibility totally voids the ultimate's requirement, since stealth attacking is the exact opposite of a fair fight. Breaking down the tactical situation, the MC confirms that attacking from hiding or from behind completely cancels out the fair confrontation criteria. Going for a standard swing, he hits the demonic sheep's neck, dealing a solid 240 points of critical damage. Even though he managed to take down the creature with just one quick hit, the guy sighs because his ultimate perk didn't trigger. Looking at the potion that dropped, super frustrated with the game's ridiculously vague skill descriptions, he decides he needs to figure out this activation trigger right now. Spotting another target chilling in the field, the assassin guesses that the secret might be dropping some personal info to the victim first. Wasting 0 time, the kid straight up tells the sheep he's about to end its run right there. But the little monster just lets out a gentle bah, literally having 0 clue what is going on. With a quick dash, Yu Jun slices the creature's belly, landing 120 points of lethal damage and finishing the job instantly. Looking at yet another health flask dropping to the dirt, he gets disappointed because his ultimate skill failed again. Spinning the item in his hand, the shadow hunter tries to decode why the game's system rejected that last approach. Drinking the red liquid to heal up 80 health points, the guy wonders if he needs to give a full-blown dramatic intro about himself. Getting a totally unhinged idea to solve the mystery, he plans to do a theatrical presentation exactly like those psycho anime assassins. Holding the dagger near his face, the hero yells out his own name and formally declares he's here to perform an assassination. Immediately after, he cringes out of his mind for having to scream his name, like an absolute clown in the middle of a pasture. Meanwhile, the fluffy little sheep just keeps staring blankly at the kid without popping any dangerous reactions. After wiping out the mob right after, the kid decides this whole show-off style definitely clashes with his low-key personality. Right then, A massive wave of relief hits him when he realizes this embarrassing strategy actually triggered the magic system. Checking the success of the tactical plan, he confirms the golden rule for a fair attack is literally just doing a formal intro and announcing the fight. Staring at an entire flock grazing together, the guy thinks it's an absolute joke if he has to repeat this cringe speech to every single animal individually. With this doubt in his head, the MC wonders if he can just drop a mass assassination threat to pull several enemies at once. Scanning the open field like a hawk, the assassin makes 100% sure there are no other players around to see him acting like a fool. Then, the kid takes a deep breath and builds up the guts to test out his highly embarrassing new theory once and for all. Screaming at the top of his lungs in the middle of the grass, Yuzhan drops his identity and swears to eliminate every single demonic sheep in the zone. The animals instantly stop chewing grass and lock eyes on this loud individual, totally clueless about the incoming vibe check. Satisfied with the total attention he pulled from the flock, the hero sarcastically asks if everyone heard the game, overwarning clearly. With his ultimate perk primed and ready, the newbie zips through the shadows like lightning, taking out the monsters with a single swift strike. The grind becomes completely ruthless as he shreds the defenseless creatures one by one, counting his victims while damage effects splash everywhere. Raking in an insane amount of clean experience, the game notification pings that the assassin hit level 2, hyping him up to keep the brutal pace going. Turning the field into an absolute blender of horns and flying pieces, he hits a crazy 50 elimination streak. Soon enough, the final reward for all that sweaty grinding flashes on screen as the MC levels up for the third time. Totally mind blown by his own damage output, the Shadow Hunter realizes he can chain his instant elimination on 50 targets at once. Suddenly, this super intense magic energy starts bottlenecking in the sky, completely changing the peaceful vibe of the Green Valley. Watching the phenomenon up close, the kid instantly remembers a massive piece of intel his little sister had researched before. The homemade notebook mentioned that a high-risk special event triggers if someone farms way too many of these sheep. A giant golden rune circle renders in the clouds, illuminating the solo battlefield with an overwhelming mystic presence. Smashing through the summon barrier with a massive thud, a giant, furious level 5 elite, class black demonic ram drops into the field. Instead of freaking out over this massive new beast, Yuzhan calculates this as the perfect opportunity to test the limits of his new class. Totally aware of his own burst damage, the kid boldly introduces himself to the dark monster, guaranteeing its end with absolute confidence. Meanwhile, chilling by the safe zone border, the cowardly gang leader who got provoked earlier is spying on the kid, amazed by his sheer audacity. The criminal does the math and figures that to one shot that many monsters, the newbie must be running some crazy pay to win jeer from outside. Peeking from behind a thick tree, the bandit's eyes bug out when he spots the insane rarity level of the giant creature that just spawned. Super hyped about the easy loot, the dirtbag decides to wait and let the monster do the dirty work, planning to swoop in and steal the shiny items once the kid is flattened. Facing the giant's aggressive charge, the account system confirms that all the ridiculous requirements for a fair duel have been perfectly met. Readying his sharp blade for the inevitable clash, the assassin calculates he only needs one clean, pixel-perfect slice to secure the elimination. But the raging enemy pops a terrifying purple aura and closes the gap like a maniac with heavily buffed speed. The beast charge gets a ridiculous 200% speed boost, completely locked onto steamrolling the challenger, managing to dodge the monstrous tackle by literal millimeters. He complains that the assassin class totally got nerfed on the health stat. Even at level 3, the kid calculates his max health as a pathetic 240 points, meaning his body cannot tank a heavy hit, surviving purely on god-tier reflexes. The boy admits that just focusing on dodging these lethal tackles is eating up almost all his concentration. Stressed over the very real chance of an instant wipe, the MC realizes that trying to weave in a clean counter attack using just a stubby dagger is totally delusional. Giving our hero zero time to breathe, the giant beast channels massive dark energy into its hooves to prep a ground move. A massive shockwave ripples through the dirt, forcing the recruit to swallow his massive tactical disadvantage against area of effect damage. With literally nowhere safe to attempt any kind of counter, he just thanks his lucky stars he managed to jump completely out of the blast radius. Dead silent and locked onto the threat, the assassin tracks the exact frame the elite creature winds up for a massive jump. The demon lands with a devastating stomp that completely shatters the floor, promising 300 points of damage to anyone caught in the splash zone. Clipped by the shockwave of the landing, the newbie's body gets launched violently backward like a piece of paper with absolutely zero defense. Dropped to his knees and hurting bad. The kid notices the chip damage alone from that slam almost deleted his health bar. Clenching his weapons even though he's exhausted, he figures any other inexperienced player running his class would already be seeing the game over screen right now. Drinking another emergency red potion to heal his broken health bar, Yuzhan admits having a tank to pull attention plus his stealth would be a massive help. But the massive paranoia of getting his secret broken perk exposed and becoming a forced pawn for toxic guilds makes him reject that easy route. Owning up to the heavy burden of this decision, the lone wolf declares with conviction that his destiny is to always face the absolute worst nightmares completely solo and in the dark. Giving an intense glare, his true main goal is to reach such an overwhelming level of power that nobody ever dares to test his authority. Staring down the giant beast in attack stance, he dashes into the shadows, dead set on mastering two major things in that duel right now. Sliding dangerously close under the dark monster by a hair, the kid focuses first on breaking the physical guards to slip in his true damage. Whipping a fast slash at the leg tendon, the big brain strategy is to turn pure dodging into muscle memory so he can clear his own mind. Quickly focusing on his remaining options, the hunter knows his second big quest on this journey involves urgently upgrading his survivability. The second a clean opening pops up in the beast's natural armor, Yuzhan lands the fatal strike, confirming that simply outlasting the boss guarantees the win. After shattering the colossal enemy into dozens of pixelated particles, the system congratulates him for the clean sweep and hands him a bonus magic title. Gasping for air after the insane pressure of facing a game over, the assassin swears this high-risk path is going to fast track him straight to the top. Admiring the mystic light floating on the grass, he locks in an unbreakable vow that prioritizing his own survival over everything is the ultimate golden rule. Holding the beautiful enchanted necklace that dropped as a reward, the hero declares that as long as he can stand near his target, he can take down anything with a pulse. Since the dark accessory heavily buffs his base health points, the young guy is super hyped and calls the drop an absolute blessing. In that exact split second of zero situational awareness, an intruder's metal blade violently pierces the MC's chest, causing a massive spray of damage. Gripping the bloody sword hilt from behind, the bandit leader cowardly mocks his effort, telling the victim to stop pretending to be a superhero. Coughing up a ton of dark pixels, the newbie instantly recognizes the camp's resident trash and completely roasts himself internally for letting his guard down during unboxing. The gang leader mocks the situation, asking if the kid has any final words. He guarantees he might just be merciful enough to pass the message along. Losing health fast, the MC tries to mumble something, while tanking the massive debuff from the backstab. He quickly gathers his strength and drops his name, Yuzhan, struggling to promise he's about to end this coward's whole run. The criminal just bursts out laughing, calling the threat pure madness. He explains that even in a digitized world, the pain and the bleed out from raw damage are 100% authentic. Twisting the blade even harder, the bandit asks how the newbie plans to fight back with a pierced heart, totally clowning the idea of a miracle counterattack. Ignoring the insane pain, the hero actually finds the attacker's face hilarious and quietly whispers the name of his ultimate skill. Instantly, the kid pops his class's supreme talent, dropping a massive wave of intense energy right out of his own heavily damaged body. Hit with absolute shock, the gang leader realizes he completely messed up, screaming that this is impossible while getting swallowed by an overwhelming force. Totally confused, the coward questions how his run is ending when he barely even took a scratch. With the elimination confirmed, the assassin sends the enemy packing as his avatar dissolves into the wind. Feeling way better, the guy loots a blue skill book off the floor, admitting he played that way too casually. Drinking a green potion to patch up his health points, he confesses he never thought he'd get ambushed so early in the game. Luckily, that new amulet doubled his max health and made the enemy mess up the damage math, otherwise that cheap shot would have actually been game over. Looking at the gear left behind, the kid remembers the toxic comment about him trying to play superhero earlier. Checking the stats on his brand new technique via the interface, he figures the dead guy was definitely a lackey for that annoying neighborhood gang. Skimming the system's communication rules, he notices the game has a friend list. This means the bandit's buddies will definitely see his status drop offline. Walking through the valley, the guy does the math and realizes if he keeps farming here, a very salty gang is going to pull up looking to hunt him down. Gripping his weapon tight, the newbie knows that right now he can entirely rely on his broken perk to delete any target instantly. Popping his shadow stealth again, the mega brain move is to skip straight to fighting higher level elite mobs to speed, run his experience gains. A bit later, the red-haired boss of the gang rolls up to the death marker with his squad. One of them points to the dirt, confirming the dead guy's last ping. Inspecting the totally wrecked grass, the leader tries to process why his right-hand man ended up getting taken out in the middle of nowhere. The party's archer finally gets the guts to report that their buddy was tracking that cocky kid who tried to play hero back in town. Realizing the gravity of the story, the boss's face drops as his brain connects the dots. Boiling with rage, he hits the unacceptable conclusion that his veteran partner got totally bodied by a literal beginner assassin. Wasting no time, the massive dude orders all his goons to hunt the kid down and demands they ping the other local gangs to join the manhunt. Totally losing his mind in a fury, the criminal screams at the top of his lungs, demanding the kid's immediate deletion. Way off in the distance, some old ruins pop up on the horizon, built out of abandoned stone walls. Massive demonic wolves are patrolling the zone, growling loud and flexing their razor-sharp fangs and glowing red eyes. A bright flash of magic suddenly lights up the zone, proving someone is spamming heavy-duty skills in the middle of the rubble. Peeking from behind a busted wall, the solo hunter scopes out the sketchy movement, keeping his blade primed to strike. Locked in on getting buffed fast, the MC gets ready to push through the ruins and keep his leveling speed up. Spotting a single wolf wandering off in the area, he sees the ultimate opportunity to test the base stats of these new beasts. Dropping stealth for a split second, the kid checks off his perks requirement by dropping his name and promising to send the creature back to the lobby. The wild beast totally understands the direct challenge and growls, glaring at the cheeky little human with glowing eyes. With his lethal skill armed and ready, the kid effortlessly dodges the initial pounce, noticing that the monster's attack pattern is painfully basic. Even though he took a nasty scratch in the process, he celebrates that his new amulet boosted his health enough to tank these heavy hits multiple times. Punishing the target's dropped guard, the guy lands a fast, brutal slash right to the animal's neck, dealing a massive hit. After confirming the easy elimination, the recruit calculates his reflexes are solid enough to handle at least 10 of these monsters at once. Suddenly, his spider sense goes off, pinging a fatal threat coming right for his back. A small pack of wolves jumps out, slicing the air in a synchronized attack. The hero is super confused about where so many spawns came from since the area looked clear. Making things worse, the wolves in front also push up, completely boxing him in. Cornered in the ruins, the kid realizes way too late that the solo monster was just bait, and he completely fell for the animals, trapped like an absolute newbie. Keeping his cool under pressure, the guy sarcastically points out that trying to jump a bigger predator is going to cost the whole pack their run. Pulling out the magic book he looted off the criminal, the hunter decides this group of enemies is the perfect test audience to debut his new move. Without flinching, he pops the sword dance, unleashing a massive area attack. One of the bigger wolves takes point, leaping with a crazy roar to shred the intruder. Staring down the beast, Yuzhun drops his signature edgy intro to bypass the class's requirement. The counter-attack is over in a frame, with the kid slicing the beast cleanly in half. Keeping the pressure up, two more demons lunge at the hunter, who just slides right under, ripping open the first one's stomach. Flexing his class's extreme agility, he steps on the rubble, dealing precise cuts to control the situation. Pulling a sick defensive backflip, the assassin spins mid-air, dodging the coordinated bites. Right as the animation ends, his weapon finds another throat, sending a shower of damage numbers everywhere. While another animal hauls to call for backup, the hero sticks the landing with a solid stance and adjusts his grip to keep going. Messing up his blind spot coverage, the guy ends up eating a massive tackle to the back that wipes out a solid chunk of health. Swallowing the sudden pain from the impact, the newbie punishes the attacker by burying his blade right into its face without a second thought. The collective howl of the beasts echoes across the battlefield, signaling the furious push from the rest of the group. But the hero's response is ruthless, dicing the monsters in a crazy light show that drops the enemy count super fast. Unlocking the full potential of his new skill, the Shadow Hunter pulls off a devastating spin attack, wiping the last survivors in one clean sweep. Getting the pop up for another level up, the kid feels pretty proud of only taking one single hit while fighting 13 creatures at once. Checking out the loot pool on the floor, he heavily praises the starting efficiency of his new skill, and gets super hyped seeing a rare magic book drop. Scanning the stats on the new magic manual, the guy figures out it's an auto, region passive, and thinks the utility is straight up incredible. Absorbing the green aura of knowledge, the hero calculates that dropping his red potion habit is going to save him tons of cash to help out at home. Keeping his main quest in focus, he expertly jumps over the loose rocks, totally itching to pull the next pack of creatures. Suddenly, the recruit hits the brakes, visibly shook by some insane movement happening right in front of him. A monstrous, red-furred alpha wolf comes crashing through the ruins, kicking up dust in a desperate sprint. Watching the giant from the corner of his eye, the MC realizes it's a heavily damaged elite beast that's probably running from a stacked party. Slipping into stealth just to be safe, the hunter remembers a major community rule warning that stealing a damaged boss always starts massive guild wars. Staying loyal to his sincere goal of getting his sister that VIP life, the kid concludes that dodging this kind of toxic drama is definitely the right play. But against all game logic, the bleeding monster slams the brakes right in front of our hero, whose eyes bug out as he curses his absolute trash luck. The brutal collision hits the kid like a truck, instantly deleting almost 300 health points in a single colossal bash. Sliding across the grass to cancel his knockback, the boy pulls his dagger, visibly tilted that his stealth got broken in such a dumb way. Activating his execution perk to fix the bug, the guy screams at the target to either run away or get sent packing. Moving on pure irrational logic, the alpha ignores the warning and charges with a furious roar, forcing the hero to fight back just to defend himself. Watching the giant pounce, he drops a stressed-out curse word, trying to cue up a dodge roll. But the unstoppable force totally crushes his guard, launching his avatar across the map after confirming 450 points of damage. Sliding across the dirt after taking that ridiculous hit, the kid focuses on the UI, realizing that even at level 4, his base health is trash, and he literally cannot tank another blow like that. Without wasting a single frame, the assassin uses his momentum to dash straight at the massive beast. Popping his secret perk for one clean, savage slice, the hero effortlessly defeats the elite boss, dropping massive damage numbers all over the zone. The huge red wolf immediately starts dissolving into tiny energy pixels without even getting a chance to counter the lethal dash. The system instantly congratulates him for soloing the alpha and hands over an exclusive Slayer title that packs some seriously cracked stat buffs. Right then, a dude in blue armor and his sister pop into the ruins, looking totally terrified after witnessing the end of that sweaty duel. Checking out the glowing dagger that dropped as a reward, the MC promises the duo he wasn't trying to steal their boss, he just defended himself and is leaving the item right there. Interrupting him, the newbie warrior in blue randomly starts yelling, calling the kid a hero out of nowhere, which leaves the solo hunter super confused. The guy quickly introduces himself as Su Hong and points to his sister Su Yu, reminding the assassin that he saved them from those toxic griefers back in the safe zone. Recognizing the duo, Yu-Jun sighs in relief that he doesn't have to defend his gamer cred and says he's out of there, telling them to keep the loot. As he turns his back, the girl suggests to her brother that they invite their savior to run the obsidian serpent, since his insane burst damage would carry hard. Su Hong instantly agrees and screams for the hero to hold up a sec, making the assassin stop in his tracks, wondering what they want now. Looking super awkward, the guy gulps and sends an official party invite to team up and challenge the dreaded giant snake of the tutorial zone. The MC thinks the idea is pure madness, arguing he hasn't even hit level 10 yet, and trying to raid a dungeon boss this early is basically throwing the game. Su Yu quickly explains that speed, running the first 3 bosses before level 10 is the mandatory requirement to unlock the zone's Supreme Tyrant title. Backing her up, the warrior details that this achievement gives a flat 10% buff to all stats and works as a VIP pass to join the top-tier guilds. Offering a friendly handshake, he hypes the kid up, saying someone strong enough to half health and alpha solo can't let a golden drop like this slide. Thinking it over, the kid runs a vibe check to see if they're lying, but figures his instant elimination perk is the ultimate insurance policy. Plus, it's a free way to get info out of them. Having made up his mind, he accepts the invite like a boss and shakes the guy's hand, locking in the temporary squad. As they walk, the hero equips the magic weapon the duo tipped him to show he's friendly, chuckling at himself for acting so suspicious around such wholesome players a minute ago. Rolling up to the glowing red cave entrance, he gets hyped remembering the boss's gear drops sell for crazy money, already plotting to solo farm this place later. Scanning the area, Su Hong points at the thugs camping the spawn, explaining that the gang gatekeeps the portal and taxes solo players for entry. Since the duo already paid the premium pass, the trio walks right through the magic barrier, making the assassin mentally celebrate, dodging the microtransaction. Pushing into the dark, freezing depths of the cavern, the squad stays totally silent, ready to pull the massive raid boss at the end of the tunnel. They quickly spot the giant snake coiled around a stone pillar in the center, and the hunter immediately notices the target's head is tiny, meaning landing his hit will be sweaty. Drawing his sword, the tank warns that the boss's base attacks are pretty easy to read, but the assassin's raw damage is absolutely mandatory for the enraged phase. Giving them 0 prep time, the demonic snake launches off the pillar, revealing its full scale and forcing the siblings to brace for the worst. Rocking a fat 50,000 health points, the monster throws out a massive hit, but the warrior holds his shield up, face tanking the blow. Watching the clash, the MC calculates that even with the tank's massive defense buffs, the guy still ate over 1,000 damage, meaning a direct hit would instantly wipe the assassin. Doing a tactical back step for spacing, he totally admits to himself that joining a party was easily the smartest play he's made on his journey. Running a cold, hard analysis of the arena, the kid realizes that even at level 10, his squishy build would have gotten absolutely rolled in a solo 1-on-1. Completely triggered by the player's attacks, the colossal snake unhinges its jaw and lets out an insane roar that makes the entire cave vibrate. Eating the heavy knockback for the team, Su Hong screams out shot calls, demanding everyone dodge the falling stalactites dropping from the dark ceiling. The boss starts drifting around the arena, ripping up the floor and proving to the dodging assassin that its charge attack basically nukes the whole map. Chaining together some perfect jumps, the hero sticks the landing on the broken terrain, dodging the heavy debris that just keeps raining down. Seeing his buddy ducking behind a rock to strategize, the blue leader orders him to stay cloaked and hold off on doing anything risky just yet. Getting healed by his sister in the backline, the warrior explains that if the boss takes way too much burst damage too fast, it'll force its nightmare phase immediately. The main strategy is to chip away slowly to avoid triggering the boss's defense, then, right at 20% health, all three will dump their entire damage kits at once. Chilling in stealth and just waiting for his window, Yu Jun remembers the wiki notes warning that the boss's enrage phase heavily buffs its cooldowns, making it a nightmare to deal with. Thinking about his own embarrassing class requirement, he knows he has to drop his name to trigger the execution, but he'd rather not expose his cringe secret in front of the party. Taking the cursed necklace off, the kid ditches the debuff that was slicing his attack power in half, guaranteeing his ultimate will shot the boss without getting blocked. Letting his teammates handle the aggro, he trusts the pacing of the fight, fully confident his final pounce will cancel out any of the beast's phase transitions. Miles away at the rocky entrance of the dungeon, the red-haired gang boss is interrogating his grunts, checking if the solo kid actually had the guts to enter the raid zone. Terrified of a full team wipe, one of the goons begs the big guy to rethink the plan, warning that crashing a boss room locks everyone inside until the raid is cleared. Completely furious and out of patience, the giant brute violently shoves the crying subordinate into the portal, screaming at them to start the manhunt. Glaring at his own squad freezing up, the thug threatens to ruin everyone's families if they refuse to push into that hole. Pressured by the literal threat of a game over, the entire mob of griefers rushes into the glowing portal, screaming in total panic. Watching his cowardly team disappear through the loading screen, the redhead drops a curse word, claiming that surviving this server means putting actual skin in the game. Back in the sweaty heat of the boss fight, Su Hong warns his duo to keep their spells primed, waiting for the exact frame the giant snake shows a vulnerable hitbox. Completely ruining the team's focus, the raging invader yells from the back, ordering his men to spam attacks on the snake to force its enrage phase and let the boss wipe the kids. Totally panicking over their boss's unhinged strategy, the gang's archer cries that the entire squad is going to get blended if they pull the raid boss's anger. Showing zero humanity, the leader points his glowing sword, demanding blind loyalty unless they want their throats slashed right there for treason. Completely locked onto the bleeding beast's heavy movement, the blue, armored leader calls out that they finally hit the critical health threshold right on schedule. Gripping his steel with both hands, he lets out a battle cry, calling for the maximum execution of their flawless strategy. But a blazing rain of fire attacks launched by the gang in the back completely sweeps across the dark room in the cheapest third-party play ever. Catching the flash of the random area attack out of the corner of his eye, the warrior's eyes bug out in pure shock that their lobby got crashed like that. The reckless spam hits the boss, instantly breaking the damage cap limit. The tank starts cursing loudly, knowing the beast is about to trigger its absolute worst phase because of the griefers. Still chilling in magic stealth, the young MC feels his blood run cold, totally confused how an easy win turned into absolute chaos this fast. Spotting the shooters in the dust cloud, Su Hong realizes the camp pulled a dirty revenge play and tells his teammate to pop the escape item and abandon the raid right now. Proving he's an absolute jigachid facing a guaranteed wipe, he tosses his own glowing escape crystal into the shadows, begging the hero to survive. To force his buddy to bail immediately, the human shield yells that the snake needs 10 whole seconds to finish its transformation animation, so he'll catch him in the overworld. Wrapped in a holy magic pillar, the two siblings manage to use their artifacts and fast travel out of the death trap, keeping their promise not to feed the enemy. Catching the thrown crystal, Yu Jun notes the insane black market value of the item and happily decides this genuinely wholesome recruit is definitely going on his friend list. Left totally alone while the rage meter maxes out, the colossal snake starts inflating with disgusting sound effects while its dark armor starts glowing. A super dangerous dark aura blasts across the whole map, announcing the start of this final survival phase's true bullet hell. Screeching at the cave walls with bloodshot eyes, the floating interface flashes in literal fire font that the aggressive mutation is locked in. Sweating over the monstrous pressure radiating from the center, the raiding griefers start panicking as they realize the massive boss has locked its aggro entirely on them. Still playing stealthy in the rocks, the assassin sarcastically notes that thanks to his class, the enraged abomination just botted the loudest idiots in the room. Trying to salvage his massive throw, the beefy leader grabs one of his guys, demanding they spread out and check the shadows for the hiding kid. Suddenly, the big guy goes completely pale, his avatar freezing in place, while a look of absolute shock takes over his tense face. Spitting health pixels right from his pierced heart, he tries to mumble something while staring at the enemy knife buried deep in his back. Laughing like a straight-up psycho, the armed subordinate flexes on him, explaining that without the escape crystals, nobody had a chance of getting out of this trap alive anyway. Completely embracing his own game over sentence, the crazy shooter yells for his boys to go out together while the starving giant beast rushes them from behind. Giving the psycho exactly what he asked for in epic fashion, the dark demon summons a massive boulder from the ceiling, caving the roof in and effortlessly squad, wiping them with area damage. Watching the absolute massacre from the VIP seats, the MC nods in total agreement that this criminal trash just found the exact ending they asked for. Watching the giant snake scan for a new target, the hero quickly realizes his magic camo gets auto disabled when he's the last player standing in the arena. Stepping out of the shadows super casually, he admits he only kept playing the standard hunter role so he wouldn't accidentally leak his broken execution mechanic. With the raid room totally empty, the kid guarantees it's just a 1-on-1 now, and the boss's speed stat is never going to catch him. Popping his class's buff, the hero officially declares the boss fight, making it clear he's only doing this to fund his little sister's premium lifestyle. The monstrous beast instantly attacks, whipping a lethal tail swipe that the newbie manages to dodge with an agile jump. While jumping off the cave rocks, he figures the siblings are probably chilling in the safe zone by now, while noting the absolutely cracked speed of the boss's enraged state. Sticking the landing, the guy also notices the attack cooldowns are way shorter, proving the bandits really paid the ultimate price for throwing the match. Wrapped in an intense mystic aura, he locks in on the deathmatch, hyping up that his ultimate is finally off cooldown and ready to pop. But the dark-scaled abomination just lets out a deafening roar, flexing its sharp fangs to try and intimidate the last challenger in the lobby. With absolutely zero fear, the assassin grips his weapon, giving a death glare and announcing it's way past time to end this cutscene. Going totally feral, the demon spams a frantic smash attack, kicking up even more dust across the wrecked boss arena. Moving purely on survival instinct, Yu Jun dashes through the air, dodging the brutal impact that sends boulders flying across the room. Taking advantage of the opening on the heavy strike, the hunter rushes the giant hitbox, calling game over on the enemy. But a loud metallic clang rings out when the blade hits the side of the target, leaving the kid totally blown by the unexpected result. Panting, the young guy quickly backs off, trying to process how his guaranteed critical hit just totally bounced off the monster's armor for 0 damage. Giving the victim no time to think, the obsidian serpent drops a crushing meteor strike that catches the kid right in the middle of the blast zone. Slammed violently into the stone floor, he yells out as the colossal magic completely shreds his defense stats. Struggling to get back on his feet, the hero realizes his math was wrong, since his fatal skill needs to land at least 1 point of base damage to trigger the instant kill script. Trying to craft a new strategy, he remembers listening to pro players back at his old job complaining that total damage immunity isn't an actual mechanic in this game. Scanning the giant beast winding up for another hit, the obvious call is that he either needs to check this insane shield with raw damage, or find the raid's hidden puzzle mechanic. Right then, the furious boss locks back onto the solo intruder, queuing up its next fatal strike through the dust cloud. A tail swipe completely clears the floor, making the young guy groan from the stamina drain as he tries not to get flattened by the flying debris. Jumping frantically just to survive the bullet hell, he wonders if the big brain move is to pop his escape rock, reset the boss's aggro, and try again later. But as the beast channels another meteor shower over his head, the guy realizes that if the secret is a hidden puzzle, running away would just be a massive waste. Deciding to tough out the absolute nightmare raid, his game plan completely shifts to finding the exact weak point that disables this broken armor. Locking his high-res vision onto the creature's dark model, a massive light bulb goes off in the hunter's head when he spots a super specific detail. Sliding under another lethal attack, he confirms the beast's entire shell is pitch black except for one tiny, glowing white scale. Getting a huge speed boost off the dark cave walls, the hero remembers vividly that this glowing spot had been super obvious since the start of the enrage phase. Launching like a missile across the top of the arena, the newbie bets all his chips on the theory that this broken immunity is just a classic raid boss gimmick. With his weapon prepped, his mega brain conclusion is that the only blind spot on this perfect armor has to be that single exposed glowing mark. Mauling over the flying target, dodging everything, the boss opens its massive jaws while listening to the cheeky human trash talking for a direct clash. The guy grips his dagger with both hands, locking in that the monster is getting deleted right now, turning into just another stepping stone for his god-tier run. Responding to the heavy disrespect, the obsidian serpent channels another massive rock explosion to try and shred the jumping player mid-air, Keeping a terrifyingly cool head mere inches from getting wiped, the kid spots the perfect millisecond window and decides this is the exact frame to strike. Like lightning cutting through a chaotic storm, he drops straight down, putting his entire character weight into that tiny vulnerable hitbox. The magic blade pierces the thick, scaly armor, ripping a massive gash through the air and sending sparks flying across the zone. Dumping his entire stamina bar into his weapon arm, the MC screams at the top of his lungs, commanding the absolute deletion of the crawling abomination. With the base damage finally registering on the server, the true magic of his perk activates, triggering a massive, blinding explosion right on the beast's neck. Begging for mercy but getting ignored, the demon thrashes around, dropping an ear-piercing screech of agony as the finisher completely wipes its massive health bar. Totally out of breath after tanking all that pressure, the raid winner slides down the rocks and sticks a super clean landing on the floor. Watching the colossal model dissolve into pure flames, the young guy mutters nervously, praying this trial doesn't have a secret phase 2. Shockingly, a peaceful soul drifts up from the loot pile, dropping a chill thank you for finally breaking its cursed infinite loop. The game's famous blue notifications start flooding his screen, confirming the boss clear, boosting him straight to level 7, and dropping a rare class title. Hyped out of his mind by the god, teardrops floating in front of him, the hero locks his eyes on the colorful mystic orbs raining down on the dusty floor. An insanely cool demonic skull helmet starts spinning on his virtual interface, leaving the newbie absolutely floored by the master tier rarity of the drop. Speed reading the heavy armor stats while losing his mind, the hero admits he expected high base numbers, but rolling 2 passive skills at the same time is straight up broken. Walking over to a blue glowing cube on the floor, the kid scoops up the item, super curious to check out the rest of the relics the dungeon spit out. Meanwhile, outside the massive rocky lair, the 2 rescued siblings are stress pacing, staring at the huge pulsing red portal. The guy in blue drops his head, super tilted, complaining that if they hadn't run into that toxic gang of griefers, the raid room wouldn't have turned into a total disaster. Gripping her staff tight, the girl mentions the hunter hasn't logged out or pinged them yet, wondering if he got wiped and if they should even keep camping the spawn. Feeling a massive wave of guilt, the warrior declares they are camping this spot until the barrier changes color, and if those thugs walk out alive, he's personally going to avenge their carry. Staring heavily at the scary entrance, he lets out a painful sigh, saying the worst part is they didn't even get to learn the gamer tag of the guy who saved their accounts. Cutting the sad vibes instantly, Suyu points out the portal suddenly flipping to blue, making her brother draw his giant sword, calling for full combat prep. The mystic energy glitches out hard, clearing the way for a single silhouette casually strolling out of the glowing loading screen. With the most chill vibe ever, Yuzhan walks out, giving a friendly wave and dropping a totally sincere apology for taking so long to clear the dungeon. Almost passing out from the reveal, Suhong stutters, trying to compute how it is humanly possible for a solo player to survive that absolute mess. The assassin scratches the back of his neck and drops a quick excuse, claiming the boss's mutation just made it a bit tankier, which wasted a few extra minutes of his grind. Still stunned locked by the impossible flex, the duo asks what happened to that army of griefers, but the MC kills the tension, promising the boss wiped them all first the second it went rage mode. A massive wave of relief hits the guy, glad Karma deleted that trash mob, while the raid carry smoothly pulls his attention back. Acting super helpful, the Shadow Hunter hands over a glowing purple magic book to the duo, casually mentioning the boss also dropped a god roll item for clerics. Getting straight to the point, the kid asks if he can trade the shiny sacred tum for some premium leaks on the attack patterns of the area's other 2 bosses. So the trio of adventurers just chills right there by the rocks, having a solid chat and swapping exclusive strategies. The hero thinks the duo is pretty chill and accepts their friend request, but decides to queue solo from here on out so nobody catches onto his highly restricted execution mechanic. Reading the stack manual he got, he realizes the siblings are actually VIPs from the famous Red Dragon Guild, which is why these tips are usually hard, locked from casuals. Analyzing the sketches of a wild boar and a spiky turtle in the diary pages, the kid ironically thinks that having a literal walkthrough makes the game way too easy. But the wholesome image of his sister waiting at home pops into his head, proving it's way better to use the easy tricks to speed, run the grind and cure her anxiety. Remembering Suhong's explanation, he gets that big organizations basically sponsor newbies with gold and early game gear, making solo leveling a breeze in the death zones. Now free from that sketchy zone, the recruit takes a chill walk back to the massive, crowded Ash City to hit up the trading district. Strolling through alleys packed with survival gear stalls, the hunter watches the NPCs and merchants just doing their daily safe zone grind. Checking out some red horns on a display, he crosses his arms and haggles over heavy armor prices with a super grumpy dwarf blacksmith. Dropping a fat bag of gold coins he farmed from the raid, the guy buys utility blades, crystals, and all the essential health potions to keep his run going. Hiding in a dark brick alley after his shopping spree, Yu Jun pulls up his magic screens, complaining that most of the boss's god tier drops are still level locked for his account. On the flip side, the MC hypes up his afternoon grind, claiming that mixing the raid loot with his store-bought gear was an absolute 200 IQ play. Twirling his shiny new dagger, he praises the weapon's massive attack buffs, guaranteeing a crazy damage spike that's gonna melt enemies way faster. Wrapping up his gear check, he hits the Galaxy. Brain conclusion that his dark necklace's side effect drops a ridiculous passive shield, totally multiplying his chances of surviving the run. Checking his skill tree on the system screen, Yu Jun notices his stealth tech has basically become useless since he decided to min-max his survival stats. Hitting level 5, the hero gets 2 skill points and dumps them all into movement speed so he can speedrun the dungeon way faster. His virtual inventory shows a max stack of fresh potions, guaranteeing he's fully kitted out to tank the dreaded demonic turtle's roadblocks. Walking out of the city limits, the kid feels totally locked in, claiming with absolute confidence that he's gonna shot the next 2 bosses on his first try. Suddenly, he stops in the middle of the street, looking super confused as he remembers the guild rumors claiming the Obsidian Serpent was actually the easiest boss in the starter zone. Looking at the Rocky Valley entrance from a distance, the MC is shocked to see a massive lobby of hunters camping outside the demonic rhino's spawn. With his little sister waiting anxiously at home, the kid figures he needs to find a way to skip this massive queue and pull the boss as soon as possible. Right then, some random warrior walks up looking curious and asks if the young guy is running solo. Blown away by the newbie's premium gear, the guy immediately offers him a spot to party up for the raid. But the second the warrior checks the kid's class icon, he awkwardly backpedals, mumbling an apology while trying to ghost him. Completely lost by the sudden rejection, the assassin asks what the big deal is with his class and why the dude is dodging him like that. The guy explains that literally nobody with a functioning brain parties up with assassins for the Rhino raid, unless it's a closed guild run. Processing the leak, the MC realizes the magic boss arena has a constant health drain mechanic, totally nerfing anyone who relies on close range melee. Instead of getting tilted, he thinks this setup is actually perfect, since he was always too embarrassed to shout his attack intros in front of a crowd anyway. His new big brain strategy is to act like a super edgy and I'm villain, so his cringe monologue just looks like a roleplay tactic to intimidate the lobby. Putting the plan into action, the hunter rudely shoves past the other players, loudly complaining about the server's toxic bias against his lethal class. Standing in the middle of the shocked crowd, he asks if this lobby of casuals actually doubts his ability to solo the giant boss. The adventurers around him glare with pure disgust, whispering that the kid is just a totally unhinged psycho. Doubling down on the edgy acting, the guy strikes a dark pose, slashing the air and asking if these mere mortals dare question his shadow royalty. Overloaded by the pure second-hand embarrassment, the hunters look away, completely ignoring the crazy kid and warning everyone to avoid eye contact. Broadcasting his fake rage to the whole zone, he guarantees he'll prove his worth by wiping the useless boss without any heals from the lobby. Instantly, the crowd parts like the Red Sea, clearing a path through the rocks, just so they don't have to deal with this weirdo's chaotic energy. Without looking back, the hero marches straight down the open lane, right into the Fire Rhino's absolute danger zone. Watching the cringe compilation from afar, a veteran mage sighs, saying it's been a minute since he saw a kid this totally lost in the sauce of his own hype. With the cave entrance totally clear for a guaranteed game over, the solo queue lobby just mourns the tragic loss of a kid who seemed to have way too much energy. Finally alone in the suffocating boss arena, the guy wipes the sweat off his face, admitting that pretending to be a weirdo villain literally drains his social battery. Dropping the act and getting serious in the middle of the smoking valley, he locks his eyes on the actual earthquake, causing threat in front of him. A massive rock beast covered in raging flames blocks the path, but the newbie swears all that cringe acting was 100% worth it to secure the one-on-one. The magic interface pops up, confirming the massive level 15 target is indeed the elite boss of this superheated zone. Totally confident with his weapon drawn, Yu Jun drops his classic execution intro and finally primes his ultimate perk against the beast. Launching off the slick rocks with an insane speed boost, the assassin dives at the fire beast, cutting through the heat wave with a frontal dash. The critical impact of the magic blade triggers a destructive energy wave that clips right through the rhino's flaming armor with zero resistance. Giving the flaming monster absolutely 0 frames to react, its colossal head drops right onto the rocky grass. Landing back on solid ground, the kid notices this boss really is the ultimate anti-melee trap, since just being in its hitbox radius melted half his max health. The virtual screens spam his vision with GG's for the ruthless clear, while the hero casually sheathes his dagger, mocking the boss for getting taken out before it could even cast its fire area spell. While scooping up the condensed flames that dropped as premium loot, he celebrates flawlessly deleting the first major roadblock on his farming route. Flexing the cold aura of a player who totally owns the server, the young guy decides it's time to follow the river and hunt down the dreaded demonic turtle. A while later, deep in the soggy swamp, the aquatic boss's supposedly unbreakable shell gets brutally sliced open by an invisible strike. As the low-hanging fog clears up and the amphibian's pixels despawn, Yuzhen sighs in relief for officially full, clearing the final zone. Hitting the highly coveted level 10 was the only real goal of his starter plan, just so he could hoard the boss loot and ditch the tutorial zone for good. Right then, a massive, epic golden flash completely overrides the dark swamp lighting, leaving the newbie totally stunned by popping some secret achievement. The holy interface flashes in glowing red text that he just got an invite to the underworld trial, making the kid hesitate, totally clueless about what this even is. Holding a fancy envelope sealed with runic wax, he immediately guesses the drop rate is insane because it requires perfectly soloing the zone's biggest bosses. Skimming the terms of service for the exclusive pass that locks you into a lethal hidden dungeon, the hero totally gets why his old teammates never leaked this spot. Since the magic entry requirement is completely toxic for normal parties, the hunter gets super hyped, calculating that the loot from an endgame test like this has to be worth millions. Laser focused on surviving the incoming bullet hell of the hidden trial, the MC decides to speed farm the area a few more times to max out his stats. Strutting through the packed hub plaza with massive ego, his brutal streak has the casuals gossiping that he's actually a smurfing veteran on a squishy alt account. The squad of boomer adventurers who clowned his little show earlier are now absolutely panicking, realizing the legend of the flame wipe was that same crazy kid. After speed, running the untouchable bosses back to grind experience, the system finally upgrades his status to an advanced combatant. Unlocking the new function to stat, check items mentally, the young guy instantly understands how the gossiping blue warrior managed to write such a god-tier wiki diary. Getting pinged that the tutorial map has an experience cap and asked if he wants to log out of the server, the kid instantly clicks no, guaranteeing his main objective just got a massive update. Holding the rocky artifact he inherited from his ally, he pulls up the quick command screen to input the exact fast travel coordinates for the city hub. Engulfed by a crushing vortex of pure blue light tearing up the dirt, the assassin triggers the teleport, dropping right into the middle of Ash City. Spawning in the trade center with clenched fists and his stamina fully refreshed, the kid fixes his outfit and declares it's time to drain his bank account on raid prep. Walking into a sketchy, rustic weapon tent, the hunter slams a heavy bag of coins onto the wooden counter, instantly buying the bearded merchant's full attention. Right after equipping his freshly bought relics in the narrow streets, the hero admires his new lethal dagger, proudly claiming his armor basically gives him god mode against low tiers. To completely avoid getting hard stuck by another pathetic immunity shield, he rerolls his magic skill tree, swapping his slow heal spell for pure, aggressive shadow damage. Gripping the mysterious ticket in his left hand, Yuzhen knows his stat balance between tanky gear and burst damage has hit absolute perfection. Watching the dust settle through the broken window of his temporary inn, he finishes his theory, crafting and chants the red card's resonance spell. Instantly, the magic pass dissolves into a cloud of crimson scales that slide and float smoothly through the kid's scarred fingers. A violent spiral of condensed energy totally swallows the hunter, literally glitching time itself to forcefully rip open the hidden fast travel point. The illusionary loading screen transitions into the lobby of an overwhelming temple, totally decked out with fallen gods and winged statues straight out of high fantasy. Locked onto his true real-life quest, the MC swallows his split-second panic, mentally promising he's coming back loaded with cash for his little Yuning. Stepping onto the Scarlet Rune Circle, the kid focuses on the system pop-up detailing that the gauntlet has 22 waves, with the option to cash out and bail early. Stepping onto the bloodstained sand of the massive Ghost Colosseum, he hears the toxic AI system sarcastically ask how many rounds a solo rat can actually survive. Feeling the heavy atmosphere literally choking his stamina, the intruder asks why a dead server has such a ridiculously toxic and edgy AI. A massive puddle of black poison magic corrupts the arena floor, shooting out purple lightning sparks across the open space. Tearing through the dark rift with a deafening roar, the giant horned demonic beast archer drops in, fully locked and loaded for a wipe. Relieved that there's no lobby of casuals watching from the stands, the kid pulls his obsidian dagger, claiming he doesn't need to roleplay, and is just going to speedrun this monster. Channeling spiritual energy into his edgy weapon, he boots up the magic blood steel buff, which auto-heals his health based on the damage he outputs. Launching against gravity straight for the enemy's neck, Yuzhen drops the required formal intro and condemns the sniper, proxying his pure shadow instant elimination. Even while getting staggered by the enemy's brutal movement, The bulky beast uses the blade on its massive bow to try and literally separate the human's head from his hitbox. Relying on the area dodging reflexes he farmed off the blue wolves, the hero breaks the sniper's tracking with a spin dash, popping the bladed storm ultimate all at once. A blinding wave of slashing light completely runs over the creature mid-animation, scattering its health points across the holy arena until its model completely unrenders. Loving the absolute blender effect from the high-speed combo, the MC casually exhales, roasting the underworld trial for throwing such a weak first wave at him. The red monster starts completely dissolving into the air, turning into nothing but smoke and experience points. The hero just keeps walking, doing the math that upgrading his sword dance to level 2 was the ultimate big brain play for keeping his combos buttery smooth. When the system flashes an interface prompt saying, "Floor 1 cleared," and asking if he wants to push forward, he clicks yes without a second thought. Right then, the kid feels the entire map moving up and figures out this creepy arena is basically a giant elevator level. The second the platform locks in, the assassin drops into a combat stance, noticing the next wave is already spawning. 2 dark magic portals rip open, leaving the newbie a bit surprised that it's a duo queue this time around. A giant beast dragging a heavy club and a cloaked beast mage render in, completely ready to throw down. Going full aggro, Yuzhun rushes the targets, dropping his name and promising to wipe them both to trigger his execution buff. He dive bombs straight for the green caster, who completely panics at the immediate gap close. But the hunter catches a frost spell queuing up, and quickly pulls a fire potion out of his inventory. A colossal explosion of ice spikes erupts from the floor right after the red giant smashes the ground. Using his cracked mobility, the kid dodges the freezing blades mid-air and drinks his buff potion. Sticking the landing on safe ground, he mentally thanks his past self for buying the right consumables after nearly throwing the game against the swamp turtle. The cloaked mage raises its staff to spam again, totally killing the hero's patience with the boring attack loop. Deciding to just end the clip, he casts a dragon prison spell straight from his magic ring. The beast caster instantly gets hard locked inside a blue magic cage, dropping a furious screech. The MC flashes a cocky smirk, knowing the arena is totally clear for his real strategy now. Staring down the red beast winding up its weapon, he confirms the raid is back to a clean 1-on-1. The giant demon unloads a brutal club smash, literally cracking the entire arena with heavy damage. The impact of the stone bat kicks up a massive dust cloud and completely wrecks the floor textures. Using the giant weapon stuck in the ground as a ramp, the kid runs straight up the club, totally disrespecting the beast. Giving it 0 frames to block, he buries the dagger right into the brute's neck, calling game over. The hunter lands on the grass while the monster pixelates behind him, hyping up his first elimination of the round. Out of nowhere, a blue magic beam snipes through the wind, narrowly missing his hitbox. He dodges the spell by a literal pixel and groans, totally forgetting the other monster was still in the lobby. Running the math, the newbie realizes the dragon root only stuns for 1 second. Good utility, but totally unreliable for a long fight. Realizing he can't let the enemy cast anything else, he pops his speed boost combo with his shadow blade. The caster tries to queue up another frost spell, tracking the sprinting kid, but a high-speed glowing slash clips right across the map, interrupting the mage's cast and slicing it clean in half. Totally defeated, the creature dissolves into purple pixels, dropping a painful death sound. Soaking up the red healing aura, the guy figures the deeper he goes, the more enemies the server is going to spawn at once. A new floating window pops up, confirming the flawless clear of floor 2, and unlocking the next stage. With crazy hype and locked in focus, he clicks accept without hesitating. On level 3, the assassin completely rolls his targets, dicing everything with sweaty actions per minute, while pixels fly. Pushing into floor 4, he dominates the map, spamming fast cuts against a whole squad of armored beasts. Catching his breath after sweeping the 5th challenge, the system finally drops a loot table full of massive experience and dozens of premium gems. Looking at the screen kind of suspiciously, he jokes that he thought the VIP rewards were a scam, since they apparently only drop every 5 rounds. With his stamina fully topped off by the win streak, the hunter readies up for the next waves, guaranteeing he isn't logging off anytime soon. The absolute slaughter continues through the next floors, effortlessly farming hordes of demonic warriors. After finishing another sweaty brawl, the newbie power slides across the stone to cancel his momentum. The Wave 10 victory screen drops insane loot, but also flashes a red warning that a dark orc lord is spawning in. The kid remembers the ridiculous market prices for these gems and realizes he's already printing money, even if he hits the quit button right now. Chilling in the center of the Colosseum, he calculates he just made millions of gold in a few hours, deciding to push his limits and multiply the bag. A seriously menacing look takes over his face, proving he really wants to test his absolute ceiling. Smacking his fist into his palm with pure hype, he yells at the empty room, locking in his run. A massive dark portal rips open, leaking this incredibly heavy boss aura that makes the newbie realize the sheer scale of the incoming wipe mechanic. A gigantic arm rocking a skull-themed gauntlet aggressively punches through the dark void. The monster's razor-sharp fangs glow in the shadows, flexing the pure aggression of a top-tier raid boss. The demonic orc lord stomps into the arena, showing off a gigantic health bar and some totally broken area control skills. Kiting back a few steps to scan the target, the MC confirms the boss focuses on raw defense and even summons minions when its health drops. Despite the massive red flags, the kid internally roasts the brute, calling it a budget version of the giant snake. Booting up his secret one-shot perk, he rushes in, dropping his intro and swearing to send the boss back to the lobby. Popping his shadow blade, the guy vows to take the enemy's head off before it can even finish casting a single area spell. But the beast totally reads his input, wildly swinging a massive spiked club straight at the intruder. The smash almost deletes the hero, forcing him to totally contort his hitbox mid-air to dodge the fatal blow by millimeters. Power, sliding across the stone to reset his spacing, the hunter is absolutely mined, blown by the cracked attack speed on such a massive model. Giving absolutely zero cooldown time, the orc roars and slams the weapon down, looking to nuke the entire map. A bunch of purple magic runes explode across the floor, hard locking the area around the MC in a literal trap. Sweating bullets, he instantly realizes he does not have the frame data to roll out of the circle before the hit connects. To bypass the trap, the assassin triggers his ghost form, praying the damage mitigation saves his run. The crushing strike lands perfectly, dropping a colossal shockwave that kicks up dirt and wipes the arena clean. Losing the trade hard, the newbie squints and holds back a groan as the damage numbers crack right through his shield. Still standing and holding his ribs, he mentally praises his spiritual upgrades, knowing a raw hit would have instantly sent him to the game over screen. The monster flares a massive red aura, proving that trying to gap close for melee right now is a complete throw. But the hero resets his posture, gripping a silver vial and deciding it's the perfect frame to pull his ultimate trump card. Completely consumed by rage, the giant orc stumps the stone and drops an ear-piercing roar, desperate to turn the intruder into a paste. With an ice-cold stare, the kid reactivates his speed boost, hard, locking onto the target. Hitting a low-profile slide across the arena floor, he dodges straight under the giant's devastating swing. The dash is flawless, leaving the beast's back completely exposed while it's locked in the attack animation. To get crazy verticality, the hunter wall jumps off the Colosseum, using the level design as a literal bounce pad. Flying like a dart across the map, he remembers he literally bought this skill to bypass these cheap boss immunity phases. The big guy's eyes bug out, desperately scanning the sides for his squishy target, totally confused about how his ankles got broken. The boss finally spots the solo player free, falling right into his blind spot for a fatal plunge attack. Way up in the air, the assassin declares this is the exact moment to check his massive investment. Triggering the shadow art, he violently buries the dagger into the dark shadow on the floor, ripping the health from the main body, without even touching the monster's model. Holding his dagger after the brutal drop strike, the hero reflects that landing that single perfect hit literally cost a fortune to set up. The enraged orc lord drops a deafening scream across the arena, struggling to keep its character model upright. Scanning the target, the MC jokes that the setup for that clean execution burned through way too many resources. But the kid guarantees the sweat is totally worth it, since this boss is basically a walking loot box packed with experience. With the lethal skill queued up, the assassin phases right through the giant model in a split second, slicing the enemy with fatal precision. Unable to tank the broken damage output, the beast lets out one last painful death screech. The system instantly rewards the hunter with a massive experience drop and the Apostle of Darkness title, unlocking absolutely ridiculous stat buffs. Staring at the glowing prompt asking if he wants to push the gauntlet, he hits accept and smoothly walks into the magic circle. Loading into the next isolated arena, the newbie stares at the massive dark portal, finding it super suspicious that no enemies rushed him on spawn. Suddenly, his danger sense pings a projectile cutting through the wind straight at his face. Running purely on cracked reflexes, the kid leans backward, dodging the arrow by a single pixel. Keeping his cool, he quickly figures out the artificial intelligence is camping the level, just waiting to catch him slipping. Readying his weapon, the guy dashes forward, doing his dramatic intro and promising to wipe the lobby to trigger his execution buff. A demonic elf rocking a bow jumps out of stealth, immediately spamming a toxic rain of poison arrows. To avoid getting pinned to the floor, the hunter pops his shadow blade speed boost, sliding violently across the arena. The sniper keeps spraying lethal projectiles everywhere, desperately trying to zone the human out. Pressured by the crazy fire rate, the hero quickly toggles his ghost form to phase straight through the danger zone. Sprinting right through the arrow storm, he mocks the boss, saying the particle effects look cool, but his passives make him literally untouchable. Closing the gap on the sniper, the assassin points out that low damage spam is absolutely useless in a close, range 1-on-1. In a single frame, the magic dagger slices the enemy in half, logging another successful instant delete. The monster's model quickly turns into magic dust, getting wiped off the server by the Colosseum wind. Once again, the glowing interface blocks the path, asking if he wants to lock in for the next wave. Chilly clicking accept, the kid calculates that the main bracket has 10 slots, leaving exactly 9 more targets to farm. Right then, an armored elf warrior jumps in screaming, fully locked onto flattening the cocky rookie. The brutal shield bash connects, totally breaking the human's guard and launching him backward. Hitting the deck from the heavy knockback, the newbie feels the pain spike, taking his first real hit of the floor. Spitting out health pixels on the rocks, he listens to the bulky enemy Toxic, laughing at his squishy base stats. The tanky monster roasts the kid for being a low-tier assassin who completely relies on stealth cheese. Taking an aggressive kick right after, the hunter gets juggled in the air, popping his ghost form again to cancel the combo damage. Rolling to fix his posture, the young guy repeats his mandatory intro, swearing to completely wipe the server. Furious over the kid's ego, the demonic warrior charges, dragging his heavy shield across the rustic floor. Holding 2 colorful flasks, the hero realizes this is the ultimate frame to test out his highly volatile fire items. Using his backward momentum, he throws the explosive vials right at the brute with god-tier aim. Popping his lethal class dash, the young guy zips across the map, dodging the enemy's charge path in a flash. Pulling a sick acrobatic flip, he lands a heavy kick right on the elf's back, forcing the boss to instantly lose balance. Wrapping up his mid-air spin, the shadow blade drops without mercy, planting the enemy face first into the floor. Meanwhile, the fire potions finish their arc, crashing into the stone to perfectly trap the mob. A massive explosion of flames swallows the enemy, lighting up the dark arena, while the assassin sticks the landing. Watching the giant bonfire, he sighs, totally confirming his theory that indirect area damage doesn't prof his instant kill talent. Holding his weapon tight, the newbie dives right back into the firestorm, slicing the target with a clean and fair execution. Swallowed by the toxic smoke, the elf hits 0 health, finally unlocking the barrier to the next zone. Totally locked in, the guy walks straight toward the dark portal, completely ignoring the system's safety warnings. Super hyped about his massive experience gains, he mentions he's dying to see how deep this dungeon goes and how fat his wallet is gonna get. Hitting floor 22, the floating purple text announces the final boss, the super overpowered level 20 demonic elf lord. Surrounded by all the loot pop-ups he farmed on this run, the hunter twirls his knife, guaranteeing he isn't logging out anytime soon. Staring down the epic glowing double doors, the hero mutters under his breath, totally blinded by the scale of the final boss room. Shielding his eyes, he complains about the extreme lighting effect that flashes his screen after pushing through the heavy entrance. The map loads into a massive divine hall packed with ancient architecture and a giant funnel of dark clouds sucking up the ceiling. Chilling comfortably on his golden throne, the elf lord drops some lore, saying it's been years since a human made it this far into the server. Kinda stunned by the random dialogue, the assassin drops his guard, asking if the game's AI is actually sentient enough to chat. The blonde entity replies coldly that talking is useless, since the intruder is getting wiped anyway, and leaving with his account totally ruined. With a firm, try-hard glare, the MC fires right back, stating there's 0 chance he's throwing this match. Hearing the bold disrespect, the creature closes its eyes, noting that its patience is already completely drained. Standing up from the throne in a single frame, the boss drops a monstrous purple aura that literally locks the kid for a full second. The monster opens its glowing red eyes, telling the challenger to roll the dice and attack if he's really got that much ego. Sweating pure stress, the newbie feels the insane pressure lagging the zone, forcing him to totally focus on the enemy. Flexing his boss health bar, the lord tells the intruder he has to step over his dead body first if he wants to level up. Gripping his weapon with both hands, the kid readies up for the sweatiest duel of his life, fully admitting this guy's power scaling is absolutely broken.